The war dragon Taehyun was feared by all. For 300 years, the massive metal-scaled beast had fought for the Star Alliance. His huge body carried the scars of 1,000 battles against the enemy forces known as the Void. Taehyun stood as tall as a 5-story building. His wings could cast shadows over entire fields. He was not just a dragon but a living weapon, fitted with special guns and armor that made him nearly unstoppable in battle. But Taehyun had a problem. No one could fly him. "Try again," shouted Commander Do-hyun as another warrior approached the dragon. The hangar was filled with tension as everyone watched. This was the 12th attempt this month. The warrior, Hanul, was one of the best dragon riders in the Alliance. He had flown 3 other war dragons before. His chest was covered with medals. If anyone could bond with Taehyun, surely it would be him. Hanul placed his hand on the glowing red port on Taehyun's neck. This was the connection point, where human and dragon minds were supposed to join. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Taehyun roared. The sound shook the entire hangar. Tools fell from shelves. People covered their ears. Hanul was thrown backward as if hit by lightning, landing hard on the metal floor 20 feet away. "Medic!" someone shouted as people rushed to help the fallen warrior. Commander Do-hyun shook his head. "That's enough for today. Get Hanul to the medical bay." As the crowd moved away, no one noticed the small figure watching from the shadows. Jia was new to the base, having arrived just 6 months ago from a distant human colony. Unlike the warriors who tried to bond with the dragons, Jia was not a fighter. She was a repair worker, fixing broken parts, cleaning systems, and making sure the war dragons were physically healthy. Jia was quiet. So quiet that most people forgot she was there. She moved through the huge dragon hangars like a ghost, doing her work without drawing attention. But she watched everything, and she had been watching Taehyun. "Another failure," said Chief Engineer Minji, walking past Jia. "That dragon is impossible. 12 warriors this month, and all of them rejected. What happens to him if no one can bond?" Jia asked softly. Minji looked surprised that Jia had spoken. "They'll probably take him apart. Use his parts for the newer models. It's a waste, but what else can they do? A war dragon without a rider is useless." Jia said nothing more, but her eyes stayed on Taehyun as the massive dragon settled back into his resting position. She noticed how his breathing seemed labored, how the scales near his neural ports were discolored, how his great eye followed her when she moved. Later that night, when the hangar was empty and dark, Jia returned. The security system was easy to bypass. She had been fixing it for months and knew all its weaknesses. The huge space was lit only by emergency lights and the faint glow coming from the sleeping dragons. Taehyun wasn't sleeping. His eye opened as soon as Jia entered, tracking her movement across the floor. "Hello," she said softly, stopping at a safe distance. "I'm Jia." The dragon made no sound, but his head lifted slightly. "You're in pain, aren't you?" she asked. Taehyun's eye narrowed and a low rumble came from deep in his chest. "I've been watching you," Jia continued. "The way you move, the way you breathe. Something's wrong with your neural system. I can see it in the discoloration around your ports." She took a step closer. Then another. Warriors approached dragons with confidence and strength, demanding respect. Jia approached with caution and care, her hands open and empty. "They keep trying to force a connection," she said. "But that's not how it works, is it? Not with you?" Taehyun's massive head lowered until his eye was level with Jia. His breath was hot against her skin. One quick move and he could kill her. Everyone knew war dragons were dangerous, especially this one. But Jia didn't see danger in that ancient eye. She saw pain. "May I?" she asked, pointing to a panel near his shoulder. "I think I know what's hurting you." For a long moment, Taehyun didn't move. Then, slowly, he lowered his body to the ground, allowing her access to the maintenance panel. Jia climbed carefully onto his foreleg. The metal scales were warm beneath her hands. She opened the panel and gasped at what she saw inside. The neural pathways, the complex web of circuits and biological material that allowed dragons to bond with humans, were badly damaged. Some connections were completely burned out. Others were corroded with a strange black substance. "No wonder you reject them," she whispered. The connection would be agony. She reached for her tool belt and began to work. First cleaning, then repairing what she could. The work was delicate, requiring both technical skill and a gentle touch. As she worked, she spoke softly to Taehyun, explaining what she was doing. These pathways carry your thoughts and feelings to your rider, she said. And theirs to you, but yours are all damaged. When they try to connect, it must feel like someone shouting into an injured ear. Taehyun made a soft sound that might have been agreement. The warriors who try to bond with you, they come at you with force, Jia continued. They want to control you, to use your strength. But that's not what you need, is it? Hours passed as Jia worked. The night grew deeper. She should have been tired, but her hands remained steady. This felt important in a way her work never had before. You've seen too much war, she said as she repaired a particularly damaged section. 300 years of fighting. All that pain and death stored in your memory. No wonder you don't want someone else in your head. Taehyun's eye closed briefly, then opened again. The red glow of his neural ports had dimmed to a softer orange. There, Jia said finally, closing the panel. That should feel better. Not perfect, but better. She climbed down from his leg and stood before him. Taehyun raised his head, studying her with new interest. I should go before the morning shift arrives, she said, but I'll come back tomorrow night. There's more I can fix. As she turned to leave, Taehyun made a sound, softer than his usual rumble. Almost like a purr. Jia smiled. You're welcome, she said. The next morning, Commander Do-hyun entered the hangar to find something strange. Taehyun, normally restless and aggressive, was calm. The angry red glow of his neural ports had changed to a steady orange. What happened? He asked the morning technicians. No idea, sir, one replied. He was like this when we came in. From her workstation across the hangar, Jia listened quietly as she repaired a broken circuit board. No one noticed the small smile on her face or the way Taehyun's great eye followed her movements. That day, another warrior came to attempt bonding with Taehyun. Everyone expected the usual violent rejection. But this time, when the warrior placed his hand on the neural port, there was no roar, no throwing. Just a firm but gentle push that moved the warrior back a few steps. He's declining, the warrior said in surprise. Not attacking, just saying no. Commander Do-hyun frowned. Something's changed. That night, Jia returned. And the night after that. Each time she repaired more of the damaged systems, talking softly to Taehyun as she worked. Each morning, the dragon seemed calmer. His neural ports glowing a little less red, a little more blue. No one connected the quiet repair worker with the changes in the war dragon. No one noticed how Taehyun's eye followed her, or how she sometimes paused in her regular work to look at him. No one suspected that the most feared war dragon in the Alliance had found something he'd never had before, someone who saw his wounds instead of his weapons. A week passed. Each night, Jia slipped into the hangar to work on Taehyun. Each day, the dragon grew calmer. The warriors and commanders noticed the change but couldn't explain it. Maybe he's finally settling down, suggested Captain Junho during the morning briefing. War dragons sometimes mellow with age. Commander Do-hyun shook his head. Taehyun is already 300 years old. If age was going to calm him, it would have happened by now. They decided to try another bonding attempt. This time, they chose Suman, a female warrior known for her gentle approach with dragons. Perhaps Taehyun would respond better to her. Jia watched from her work area as Suman approached the massive dragon. Taehyun's neural ports glowed a steady orange-blue now, much better than the angry red of before. Suman spoke softly to him, showing more respect than the previous warriors had. For a moment, Jia felt a strange twist in her chest. Would Taehyun accept Suman? The thought bothered her, though she wasn't sure why. Suman placed her hand on the main neural port. There was no violent rejection this time. Instead, Taehyun simply turned his head away, breaking the contact. He's refusing, Suman said, stepping back. Not fighting me, just refusing. Commander Do-hyun frowned. At least he's not throwing people across the room anymore. But we still need him to accept a rider. The void forces are getting closer to our outer colonies every day. That night, Jia found Taehyun waiting for her. His massive head turned toward the door the moment she entered. Hello, big one, she said softly. Ready for more repairs? Taehyun lowered his body to the ground, making it easier for her to reach his maintenance panels. As Jia climbed onto his foreleg, she noticed something new. A small platform had extended from his shoulder near the neural ports. It looked like a seat. What's this? She asked, touching the platform gently. Taehyun made a soft, rumbling sound. His eye fixed on her, then moved to the neural ports, then back to her. Are you inviting me to sit there? Jia asked, surprised. The dragon blinked once, slowly. Jia hesitated. That spot was where riders sat when they bonded with war dragons. It was dangerous for someone untrained to even go near it. I'm not a warrior, she said. I'm just a repair worker. Taehyun made the soft sound again, almost like a plea. Taking a deep breath, Jia climbed higher, using the handholds in Taehyun's armor. When she reached the platform, she carefully sat down. It was surprisingly comfortable, as if made for her. From this position, she could see the neural ports up close. They were complex devices, part mechanical, part biological, that allowed the dragon and rider to share thoughts and feelings. The main port was directly in front of her, glowing a gentle blue. I've never seen one this close before, she said, studying it with professional interest. The design is beautiful. Taehyun's body vibrated slightly beneath her, almost like a purr. Is this what you wanted to show me? She asked. Your neural system looks much healthier now the repairs are working. The dragon turned his head slightly, bringing his great eye level with her. There was an intelligence in that gaze that made Jia catch her breath. Not just the intelligence of an animal, but something deeper, more complex. You understand everything I say, don't you? She whispered. Taehyun blinked once, slowly. And you've been alone all this time. 300 years of fighting, and no one to really talk to. The neural port in front of her pulsed, the blue light brightening. Without thinking, Jia reached out and placed her hand on it. The moment her skin touched the port, a warm feeling spread up her arm. It wasn't painful, just strange, like dipping her hand into water that was alive. Then she heard it, not with her ears, but inside her mind. Friend. The word wasn't spoken. It was a feeling, a concept, wrapped in warmth and gratitude. Jia gasped and pulled her hand back. Was that you? Taehyun's eye blinked again. The neural port pulsed. Slowly, Jia placed her hand back on the port. This time she was ready for the strange sensation. Friend. Help. Pain less now. The thoughts weren't in words exactly. They were impressions, feelings, concepts that her mind translated into words. You can communicate this way, she said in wonder. But the warriors who tried to bond with you, they said you rejected them. Force, control, take, not give. Jia understood. They tried to control you, to take command. Yes, pain, old wounds, bad memories. But you're letting me in. Why? You heal, not take. See me. Tears filled Jia's eyes. For 300 years, this ancient being had fought for humans, had suffered wounds both physical and mental, and all anyone had tried to do was use his strength, control his power. I see you, she whispered, her hand still on the neural port. I see your pain, your loneliness. Yes, you see. A sound from the far end of the hangar made Jia jump. The night guard was making his rounds. She quickly removed her hand from the port. I have to go, she said, but I'll come back tomorrow. As she climbed down from Taehyun's shoulder, the dragon made a soft sound of farewell. Jia slipped out of the hangar just before the guard rounded the corner. The next day, the base was buzzing with activity. Reports had come in that void forces had been spotted near the outer defense ring. All war dragons and their riders were put on alert. What about Taehyun? Asked Captain Junho during the emergency meeting. He's our strongest dragon, but without a rider. We'll have to send him out unmanned, Commander Dohyun decided. His basic battle programming should be enough for him to follow the squadron and provide support fire. Jia, who was repairing a communication panel nearby, froze when she heard this. War dragons without riders were vulnerable. They could fight on basic instinct and programming, but without a human to help them think and adapt, they often took serious damage. That evening, as the base prepared for possible battle, Jia made her decision. Instead of waiting for night, She went to the hangar during the busy pre-battle preparations. With everyone focused on their tasks, no one noticed as she slipped into Taehyun's bay. The massive dragon was already awake, his systems humming as technicians prepared him for battle. "Final checks complete," said one technician to another. "Unmanned protocol activated. He'll follow Junho's dragon and provide covering fire." As the technicians left to prepare the next dragon, Jia stepped out from her hiding place. "Taehyun," she said softly. The dragon's head turned toward her immediately. His eye found her and a low rumble came from his chest. "They're sending you out there alone," she said, approaching him. "It's too dangerous." Taehyun lowered his head until his eye was level with hers. The neural ports on his neck glowed bright blue. "I'm not a warrior," Jia said. "I've never even trained on the simulators, but I can't let you go out there alone." The dragon extended the climbing ladder from his shoulder. An invitation. Jia took a deep breath. What she was about to do was against every rule. Unauthorized personnel were forbidden from bonding with war dragons. The neural connection could damage an untrained mind. And Taehyun was considered the most dangerous dragon in the fleet. But, as she looked into his ancient eyes, she saw not danger but trust. "Okay," she whispered. "Together." She climbed the ladder quickly before she could change her mind. At the top, the platform waited for her. She sat down and placed her hand on the main neural port. The connection was immediate and much stronger than before. Warmth flowed up her arm and into her mind, but this time it didn't stop. It spread, filling her thoughts with new sensations. "Jia. Friend. Together." "Yes," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Together." Suddenly she could feel Taehyun's body as if it were her own. His massive wings, his powerful legs, the weapon systems built into his armor. She could sense his thoughts, his feelings, his memories, 300 years of life and battle flowing into her mind. It should have been overwhelming. The warriors, who had tried to bond with him, had been trained for years to handle such a connection. But where they had tried to control the flow, to direct it, Jia simply accepted it. She let Taehyun's thoughts and memories wash over her without trying to command them. Trust. Safe. Protect. "I trust you," she whispered, as the bond between them grew stronger. The hangar doors began to open. Outside, the other war dragons were already taking flight, their riders guiding them toward the outer defense ring where the void forces had been spotted. "Are you ready?" Jia asked, though she could already feel the answer through their bond. Ready, fly, together. Taehyun's massive wings unfurled, his powerful legs tensed, and as the hangar doors opened fully to the evening sky, the most feared war dragon in the Alliance launched into the air with the quiet repair worker seated at his neural junction, the first rider he had accepted in 300 years. Behind them, someone shouted in alarm, but Jia and Taehyun were already soaring toward the stars, bound together by something stronger than control, understanding. "What is happening?" Commander Do-hyun shouted into his communicator. "Who is on Taehyun?" The command center was in chaos. On the main screen, they could see Taehyun flying toward the battle zone, but instead of following basic unmanned protocols, he was moving with the grace and purpose that only came from having a rider. "Sir, it appears to be Jia, the repair worker," reported Captain Junho through the comm system. He was already airborne on his own war dragon, leading the squadron. "The repair worker?" Do-hyun's face turned red with anger. "Get her down immediately. She has no training, no authorization." But Taehyun was already moving faster than any of the other dragons, his massive wings cutting through the sky with powerful strokes. Jia held tight to the neural connection, her mind filled with new sensations. Enemy ahead came Taehyun's thoughts. Many ships, small fighters, 3 big ships. Through their bond, Jia could see what Taehyun saw, the void forces approaching the outer defense ring. Dozens of small black fighter ships swarmed around 3 massive dreadnoughts. The fighters were fast and deadly, designed to take down war dragons. "I don't know how to fight," Jia said, fear creeping into her voice. "I know. 300 years of battle." "Trust me. I trust you," she replied, and meant it. Captain Junho's voice came through the communication system built into Taehyun's armor. Jia, what do you think you're doing? Return to base immediately. We can help, Jia replied simply. Taehyun knows what to do. This is madness. You have no combat training. You'll get yourself killed and lose us our most valuable war dragon. But Jia and Taehyun were already diving toward the approaching enemy fighters. Unlike the other dragons who moved with careful precision under their rider's guidance, Taehyun moved like water, flowing, turning, diving with natural grace. Hold tight, came his thought. First battle. The first group of void fighters spotted them and changed course to attack. Black ships with purple energy weapons, they moved in a tight formation, trying to surround the war dragon. Jia felt fear rise in her chest, but through their bond came Taehyun's calm confidence. He had faced these enemies countless times before. With a sudden twist that would have thrown off any normal rider, Taehyun spun in midair. The plasma cannons built into his sides fired in a perfect arc, catching 3 enemy fighters. They exploded in bursts of purple and black. Good, more coming. The battle was unlike anything Jia could have imagined. Where the other war dragons fought with careful strategy, Taehyun fought with instinct and experience. Jia didn't try to control him. She simply shared her human perspective, pointing out patterns or dangers he might miss. They're trying to get behind you, she said, noticing a group of fighters changing formation. Taehyun responded instantly, dropping altitude and then surging upward, catching the fighters by surprise. His tail, armored with razor-sharp plates, sliced through 2 more enemy ships. Through their neural bond, Jia could feel Taehyun's joy. Not joy at destroying the enemy, but joy at finally fighting as he was meant to, with a partner who worked with him instead of trying to control him. Captain Junho's voice came through again, this time with a note of amazement. How are you doing that? He's moving better than I've ever seen any war dragon move. We're working together, Jia replied, not fighting each other. The battle intensified as they approached the 3 void dreadnoughts. These massive black ships were the real threat. Each one carried weapons that could destroy entire cities. The other war dragons formed a defensive line, their riders coordinating a careful attack plan. But Taehyun had his own idea. The middle ship. The leader. Take it down, others will retreat. Are you sure? Jia asked. It's the biggest one. Yes, I trust you, she said again. Taehyun surged forward, breaking from the formation. Captain Junho shouted warnings, but they were already committed. The massive war dragon flew straight toward the lead dreadnought, dodging enemy fire with incredible speed. As they got closer, Jia could see the dreadnought's main weapon, a huge cannon that glowed with purple energy. It was charging up, preparing to fire at the defense ring. It's going to fire, she shouted into the comm system. The main cannon is charging. Fall back, ordered Captain Junho. All dragons, defensive positions. We can't stop that cannon. But Taehyun didn't fall back. Instead, he flew even faster toward the dreadnought. Plan, came his thought. Dangerous, but will work. Through their bond, Jia saw what he intended to do. It was crazy. Possibly suicidal. But it might save millions of lives on the defense ring. Do it, she said, her heart pounding. Taehyun folded his wings and dove straight toward the charging cannon. Enemy fighters tried to intercept them, but he was too fast, too determined. As they approached the massive weapon, he extended his armored claws. All dragons, clear the area, Jia shouted into the comm. Taehyun is going to overload the cannon. With perfect timing, Taehyun grabbed the edges of the cannon barrel with his claws. Using his momentum, he swung his massive body into the opening, wedging himself into the firing chamber. His armored scales, designed to withstand extreme heat and energy, blocked the cannon completely. The dreadnought's weapon system tried to fire, but with nowhere for the energy to go, it began to backflow into the ship's power core. Now. Must leave. Explosion coming. Taehyun pushed with all his strength, freeing himself from the cannon. As he did, the energy backflow reached critical levels. The dreadnought's power core began to overload. Get clear, Jia shouted to the other dragons. It's going to blow. Taehyun spread his wings and flew away from the dreadnought as fast as he could. Behind them, the massive ship began to break apart as its core destabilized. The explosion was enormous. A wave of purple energy burst outward as the dreadnought's power core failed. Taehyun tried to outrun it, but the edge of the blast caught them, sending them tumbling through space. Jia held on desperately to the neural connection as Taehyun fought to regain control. His armored body had protected her from the worst of the blast, but she could feel his pain through their bond. Several of his systems were damaged. One wing wasn't responding properly. Protect Jia safe. Must land, you're hurt, she said, feeling his pain as if it were her own. Will heal. Always heal. You helped me heal before. The other two dreadnoughts, seeing their leader destroyed, began to retreat. The remaining Void fighters followed them, pulling back from the battle. The defense ring was safe. Captain Junho flew his dragon alongside them. That was either the bravest or the most foolish thing I've ever seen, he said. Are you both all right? Taehyun is injured, Jia replied. We need to get back to base. Can he make it? Taehyun answered with a determined roar that echoed through space. Always fight. Always return. Now have reason to return. The flight back to base was difficult. Taehyun's damaged wing made it hard for him to maintain altitude, and several of his armor plates were cracked or missing. But he kept going, drawing strength from Jia through their bond. As they approached the base, Jia could see emergency crews waiting. Commander Do-yoon stood at the front, his face a mix of anger and amazement. Taehyun landed heavily on the main platform, his massive body shuddering with the effort. Medical teams rushed forward along with dragon technicians. Get her down from there, Commander Do-hyun ordered, and prepare for disciplinary action. But when the medical team tried to approach, Taehyun growled, curling his body protectively around Jia. Stay. Need you. Help heal. I'm not leaving you, Jia said, maintaining their neural connection despite the pain it now caused her. The battle had strained her untrained mind, and she could feel a headache building behind her eyes. Sir, said one of the medical officers to Commander Do-hyun, we can't separate them while the neural bond is active. It could harm them both. Do-hyun looked up at Jia, still seated at Taehyun's neural junction. Do you have any idea what you've done? The rules you've broken? I couldn't let him go into battle alone, she replied simply. You could have been killed. You have no training, no experience. But I have something the warriors don't, Jia said, placing her hand gently on Taehyun's neural port. I understand his pain. I don't try to control it. Through their bond, Taehyun sent her a wave of gratitude and affection. First friend. First true rider, stay. I'm staying, she whispered to him. Then louder to Commander Do-hyun. He needs medical attention, and I need to stay connected to help him through it. Do-hyun looked like he wanted to argue further, but Captain Junho stepped forward. Sir, with all due respect, they just saved the entire defense ring. 3 million lives. And they did something none of our trained warriors could do. They got Taehyun to accept a rider. After a long moment, Do-hyun nodded. Get the medical teams and repair crews working. But this isn't over, Jia. When Taehyun is stable, we'll discuss your future. As the medical teams moved in to begin treating Taehyun's wounds, Jia maintained their neural connection. Through it, she sent him feelings of comfort and reassurance. Pain, came his thought. But good pain. Battle pain. Healing pain. Not lonely pain, I understand, she said softly. I'll stay with you until you're better. Stay longer. Stay always, my rider. My friend, Jia smiled, despite her exhaustion and the pain in her head. Your friend, always. Around them, the base buzzed with activity as news of their incredible battle spread. The quiet repair worker and the unrideable war dragon had become heroes in a single day. But for Jia and Taehyun, the greatest victory wasn't defeating the enemy. It was finding someone who truly understood. 3 days passed. Jia stayed with Taehyun in the medical bay as repair crews worked to fix his damaged body. The neural connection between them remained active, though at a lower level to allow Jia's mind to rest. Your brain scans show unusual patterns, Dr. Yuna told Jia during a checkup. The neural bond you formed with Taehyun is different from normal rider-dragon connections. Different how? Jia asked. She sat on a small platform next to Taehyun's massive head. The war dragon was awake, his eye following the doctor's movements. Normal bonds are controlled by the rider, Dr. Yuna explained. The human directs the flow of information, filtering what comes from the dragon. But your bond, she looked at the scan results with wonder. It's equal. A true sharing of minds, equal, came Taehyun's thought. As it should be. Jia smiled, relaying his words to the doctor. Dr. Yuna shook her head in amazement. 300 years we've been working with war dragons, and we never considered this approach. Later that day, Commander Do-hyun came to see them. His face was serious but not angry as it had been before. "The Defense Council has reviewed your case," he said to Jia. "What you did was reckless and against every protocol we have." Jia nodded, accepting the criticism. Beside her, Taehyun rumbled softly. "However," Do-hyun continued, "the results cannot be ignored. You and Taehyun destroyed a void dreadnought and saved 3 million lives on the defense ring, and you've accomplished something our best warriors couldn't, forming a stable bond with our most powerful war dragon. Tell him. Need you, only you." "Taehyun says he needs me," Jia said. "He won't accept another rider." Do-hyun sighed. "So the dragon experts have informed me, which leaves us with a difficult decision." He paced in front of them, hands clasped behind his back. "The void forces are regrouping. Our scouts report they're planning a major attack on our main colony world. We need every war dragon we have, especially one as powerful as Taehyun. We'll fight. Protect humans. With Jia. He says we'll fight," Jia translated. "But only if we stay together." "That's what I expected," Do-hyun said. "Which is why the council has made an unprecedented decision. Jia, you are being officially assigned as Taehyun's rider." Jia's eyes widened in surprise. "But I have no training. I'm just a repair worker. You'll begin accelerated training immediately. Captain Junho will work with you personally. You won't have time to learn everything our warriors learn in years of training, but you'll learn the basics. Don't need training. Have me? 300 years of battle knowledge?" Jia smiled at Taehyun's confidence. "He says I have him, and that's enough." "Perhaps," Do-hyun said, not looking entirely convinced. "But some human perspective will help balance his enthusiasm. Report to the training area tomorrow morning. For now, continue helping with his repairs." After Do-hyun left, Jia leaned against Taehyun's massive neck. Through their bond, she could feel his satisfaction and excitement. Fight together, fly together. Better than alone, yes, she agreed. Better than alone. The next 2 weeks were the hardest of Jia's life. Each morning she trained with Captain Junho, learning battle tactics, communication protocols, and emergency procedures. Each afternoon she worked with the repair crews, helping to fix Taehyun's damaged systems. And each night she spent hours connected to Taehyun through their neural bond, learning from his centuries of experience. "You're a natural," Captain Junho told her after a particularly good training session. "Most new riders take months to develop the level of coordination you already have with Taehyun." "It's not me," Jia said honestly. "It's our bond. I don't try to control him like other riders do with their dragons. We work together." Junho looked thoughtful. "Perhaps that's something we should consider in our training program. We've always taught riders to maintain control, but maybe there's another way." As Taehyun's repairs neared completion, the base received alarming news. The Void Forces had launched their attack earlier than expected. They had already broken through the outer defenses and were heading toward the main colony world, home to over 10 million people. Commander Do-hyun called an emergency meeting of all dragon riders. "This is the largest void fleet we've ever encountered," he said, showing the tactical display. 5 dreadnoughts, hundreds of fighters, and something new. A super weapon they're calling the Void Hammer. The display showed a massive black ship, twice the size of a normal dreadnought. At its center was a weapon that pulsed with dark energy. "Our scientists believe this weapon can crack a planet's crust," Do-hyun continued. "If it reaches the colony world, millions will die." The room was silent as everyone absorbed this terrible news. "We're launching every war dragon we have," Do-hyun said. "This is the fight of our lives, people. The colony world is counting on us." After the meeting, Jia went to Taehyun. The repair crews had finished their work. His armored hide gleamed under the hangar lights, all damage repaired. His neural ports glowed a healthy blue. "Did you hear?" she asked, placing her hand on his neck. "Yes. Big battle. Many enemies. New weapon. Are you ready for this?" "The training says I'm not ready for a battle this big." Taehyun lowered his head until his eye was level with hers. "Training is words. Experience is real. We have experience together. Defeated Dreadnought. We'll defeat more." His confidence flowed through their bond, steadying her nerves. "Okay," she said. "Together." The next morning, all 23 war dragons of the base prepared for launch. Riders checked their equipment and ran final system checks. The mood was tense but determined. Jia wore a new flight suit specially made for her smaller frame. As she climbed Taehyun's side to the neural junction, Captain Junho approached. "Stay with the formation," he advised. "Don't try any solo heroics this time." "We'll do our best," Jia promised, though she could already feel Taehyun's disagreement through their bond. "Formation, too slow. Need speed, need surprise. Let's just see how it goes," she whispered to him. The hangar doors opened to reveal the blackness of space. One by one, the war dragons launched, their massive wings spreading as they left the artificial gravity of the base. Taehyun was the last to launch. As the largest and most powerful dragon, he would fly at the center of the formation, providing the heaviest firepower. "Ready?" came his thought as they prepared to launch. "Ready," Jia replied, placing her hand firmly on the neural port. The connection between them flared to full strength. Jia gasped as Taehyun's consciousness merged with hers. It was like diving into a vast ocean of memory and instinct. 300 years of battle experience flowing into her mind. With a powerful push of his legs, Taehyun launched into space. His wings extended to their full span, catching the solar winds. Through their bond, Jia could feel the joy he took in flight, the freedom of movement, the strength of his body. The War Dragon Squadron formed up, 23 massive beasts flying in perfect formation toward the approaching enemy fleet. Through the communication system, Captain Junho gave final instructions. "Remember the plan. Groups 1 and 2 will engage the fighters. Groups 3 and 4 will target the dreadnoughts. Taehyun and Jia, you're with me in the center. We'll look for an opening to attack the Void Hammer." "Bad plan," came Taehyun's immediate thought. "Too slow, too careful. Enemy will adapt. What do you suggest?" Jia asked silently through their bond. "Speed, surprise, direct attack on big weapon. Others distract small ships." "Captain Junho knows what he's doing," Jia said. "He's led many battles, yes, many battles. Many dragons lost. Too careful at wrong times. Too bold at wrong times." Jia considered this. Through their bond, she could access Taehyun's memories of past battles, could see the mistakes that had cost dragon lives. "Let's follow the plan for now," she decided. "But be ready to adapt if we see an opportunity. We'll follow. For now." The Void Fleet appeared on the horizon, a mass of black ships against the stars. The 5 dreadnoughts formed a protective ring around the Void Hammer, which pulsed with dark energy as it charged its planet-killing weapon. "All dragons, prepare to engage," Captain Junho ordered. "Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for." The battle began with a surge of Void fighters breaking from the main fleet. Hundreds of small black ships swarmed toward the Dragon Squadron. Groups 1 and 2 moved forward to intercept, their plasma weapons firing in coordinated bursts. War dragons roared as they tore into the enemy formation. Through their bond, Jia could feel Taehyun's battle instincts rising, his muscles tensed, ready for action. His weapon systems hummed with power. "Wait," he thought. "Watch, find weakness." As the battle spread out, Jia and Taehyun stayed with the central group, moving steadily toward the dreadnoughts. But Taehyun's attention was fixed on the Void Hammer beyond them. There, he suddenly thought. Gap in defense, between 3rd and 4th dreadnoughts. Opening and closing as they move. Jia saw it too. A pattern in the dreadnought's movement that briefly created a path straight to the Void Hammer. "Captain," she called over the comm. "We've spotted a potential opening to the Void Hammer." "Negative," Junho replied, his voice tense as he directed his dragon in battle. "Stick to the plan. We take down the dreadnoughts first, then the hammer." "Too late then," came Taehyun's urgent thought. "Weapon charging. Feel the energy. We'll fire soon." Through their bond, Jia could indeed feel the strange energy building in the Void Hammer, a wrongness in space that made her skin crawl. "How long?" she asked. "Minutes, not many. Must act now." Yamada heard decision. "Captain, the hammer is about to fire." "We're going for it." "Jia, no. That's a direct order." But Taehyun was already moving, breaking from the formation with a powerful surge of his wings. His speed was incredible, far greater than the other war dragons could manage. "We have to try," Jia called back. "If that weapon fires, millions die." Through their bond, she felt Taehyun's fierce determination merge with her own. They were no longer separate beings, but a single entity with one purpose: stop the Void Hammer before it could fire. As they raced toward the gap between the dreadnoughts, enemy fighters swarmed toward them. Taehyun's plasma cannons fired with perfect accuracy, clearing a path. His armored body twisted and turned, avoiding enemy fire with grace that seemed impossible for something so large. Almost there. Hold tight. Fast move coming. The gap between the dreadnoughts appeared ahead, a narrow space that opened and closed as the massive ships adjusted their positions. Timing would be critical. Now, Jia shouted both aloud and through their bond. Taehyun folded his wings and spun his body, slipping through the gap just as it began to close. The edge of one dreadnought scraped against his armor, but they were through, with a clear path to the Void Hammer. Behind them, they could hear Captain Junho shouting orders, trying to reorganize the squadron to follow them. But Jia and Taehyun were already committed. The Void Hammer loomed before them, its central weapon glowing with building energy. They could feel its wrongness, a tear in the fabric of space itself. Plan, Jia thought, suddenly realizing they hadn't discussed exactly how to stop the massive weapon, same as before. Disrupt firing chamber, cause overload, but bigger, more dangerous. Can we survive that? Jia asked, remembering how badly damaged Taehyun had been after the last dreadnought explosion. There was a pause before his answer came, not sure. But millions will live. Jia took a deep breath. Then let's do it. Together. Together. Always. With that, Taehyun surged forward toward the heart of the enemy fleet, and the most dangerous weapon humans had ever faced. The Void Hammer grew larger as Taehyun flew toward it. The massive black ship was unlike anything Jia had ever seen. Its center glowed with dark purple energy that seemed to bend the light around it. How do we stop it? Jia asked through their bond center. The power core. Must overload it like before. But bigger ship. More energy. More danger. Void fighters swarmed around them, firing their purple energy weapons. Taehyun twisted and turned, avoiding most of the shots. Those that hit bounced off his armored scales. Through their neural connection, Jia could feel Taehyun's determination. He had fought the Void for 300 years. He had seen worlds destroyed. He would not let it happen again. Hold tight. Fast attack coming. Taehyun suddenly folded his wings and dove straight toward the Void Hammer's main weapon. The massive cannon was charging, purple energy swirling at its center. Enemy fighters tried to block their path, but Taehyun was too fast, too determined. His plasma cannons fired in perfect burst, clearing the way. Jia, Taehyun, pull back immediately. Captain Junho's voice came through the communication system. That's an order. The weapon is about to fire. We can stop it, Jia called back. Trust us. As they approached the massive cannon, Jia could see inside its barrel. Dark energy swirled like a storm, building power that could crack a planet. Now. Must act now. With perfect timing, Taehyun spread his wings wide, slowing his approach. His massive claws extended, grabbing the edges of the cannon. Using his momentum, he swung his body into the opening, wedging himself into the firing chamber. The feeling was immediate and terrible. Dark energy washed over them, trying to pull them apart. Jia screamed as pain shot through their bond. It felt like her mind was being torn in two. Hold on. Almost done. Need to push deeper. Taehyun forced his massive body further into the cannon, blocking it completely. His armored scales, designed to withstand extreme conditions, began to glow red from the energy pressing against them. Inside the Void Hammer, alarms would be sounding. The weapon was blocked, but its power was still building. With nowhere to go, the energy would flow back into the ship's systems. Now must leave. Explosion coming soon. Taehyun pushed with all his strength, trying to free himself from the cannon. But something was wrong. His body wouldn't move, stuck, energy field holding us. We have to get out. Jia cried, feeling the building pressure through their bond. Cannot. Too late. In that moment, Jia felt Taehyun make a decision. Through their bond came a wave of emotion. Determination, acceptance, and something deeper, care. For her, protect Jia. Must protect. She felt him directing energy to the armor plates surrounding her position, felt him shifting his body to shield her from what was coming. No, she shouted. Together, remember? We do this together. But Taehyun had made his choice. 300 years of fighting, of watching humans die while he survived. He would not watch Jia die too. Good rider. Good friend. First to see, first to understand. Taehyun, please. Tears streamed down Jia's face as she felt his acceptance of what was coming. Suddenly, a new voice came through the communication system. Tae-hyun. Cheers, this is Commander Do-hyun. All dragons are converging on your position. We're going to try to pull you free. Through the pain of the energy field, Jia looked up to see the other war dragons flying toward them. Captain Junho led them, his dragon's claws extended. Hold on, Junho called. We're coming. Too late, came Taehyun's thought. Energy critical. Tell them stay back, it's too dangerous. Jia shouted into the comm. The energy is about to overload. Stay back. But the dragons kept coming. Captain Junho's dragon reached them first, its massive claws grabbing Taehyun's hind leg. Pull, Junho ordered. One by one, the other dragons joined the effort. 22 war dragons pulling together with all their strength. Taehyun felt the energy field weakening as the Void Hammer's systems began to fail. Might work. Keep pulling. With a sudden lurch, Taehyun's body began to move. The energy field flickered as the ship's power fluctuated. The dragons pulled harder. Almost there, Junho shouted. With a final massive effort, the dragons yanked Taehyun free of the cannon. The moment he was clear, Junho shouted a new order. All dragons, maximum speed. Get clear! The dragon squadron flew away from the Void Hammer as fast as they could. Behind them, the massive ship began to break apart as its power core overloaded. Jia held tight to Taehyun's neural port, feeling his pain through their bond. His armor was severely damaged. Several systems were failing, but he was alive and they were flying away from the doomed weapon. Did it. Stopped weapon. Saved world. Yes, Jia whispered. We did it together. The explosion, when it came, was unlike anything Jia had ever seen. The Void Hammer didn't simply blow up. It collapsed in on itself, then erupted in a massive wave of purple energy. The blast caught the nearby dreadnoughts, destroying 3 of them instantly. The remaining 2, damaged but functional, began to retreat. The energy wave spread outward faster than the dragons could fly. Brace for impact, Junho shouted. Taehyun curled his body, wrapping his wings around Jia's position. Through their bond, she felt his fierce determination to protect her, no matter the cost to himself. The wave hit them like a physical wall. Jia screamed as pain flooded their bond. Taehyun's systems flickered and failed one by one. His consciousness wavered in her mind. Jia. Safe, I'm here, she gasped. Stay with me, Taehyun. Please stay with me. His thoughts grew dimmer, harder to hear. Jia held tight to their bond, refusing to let go. Don't leave me, she begged. We're supposed to stay together, remember? Around them, the other dragons were also struggling, but none had taken as much damage as Taehyun. He had been at the center of the blast, his body already weakened from blocking the cannon. Tired. Very tired. Long fight. 300 years, I know, Jia said, tears streaming down her face. But you can rest now. The fight is over. We won, good, just safe. World safe. His consciousness flickered again, growing fainter. Jia could feel him slipping away. No, she shouted, both aloud and through their bond. You don't get to leave now. Not after everything we've been through. She pressed her hand harder against the neural port, pouring all her emotion into their connection, all her determination, all her care for the ancient being who had become her friend. You're not just a weapon, she told him fiercely. You're not just a war dragon. You're Taehyun. You're my friend, and I need you to stay with me. For a long moment there was nothing, no response, no feeling through their bond. Just emptiness. Then faintly, like a whisper from very far away, friend Jia, stay. The medical bay of the base was crowded with injured dragons and riders. The battle had been won, but at great cost. 3 dragons had been lost and many more were damaged, none as badly as Taehyun. The massive war dragon lay in the largest repair bay, surrounded by medical teams and technicians. His armored hide was cracked and burned. Many of his systems were offline. His neural ports flickered weakly, sometimes blue, sometimes not glowing at all. Jia sat beside him, refusing to leave despite her own injuries. A neural specialist had tried to break their bond, saying it was too dangerous for her to remain connected to a dragon so badly damaged. She had refused. If you break the bond, you might lose him completely, she had argued. I'm the only thing keeping him here. Commander Do-hyun stood nearby, watching the medical team's work. His face was grim but respectful. The colony world is safe, he told Jia. 10 million lives saved because of what you two did. Jia nodded, but her focus remained on Taehyun. Through their weakened bond, she could still feel him. a faint presence like a candle flame struggling against the wind. Will he survive? Do-hyun asked Dr. Yuna, who was monitoring Taehyun's systems. I don't know, the doctor admitted. The damage is extensive. In 300 years, he's never been hurt this badly. Heard that? Came Taehyun's faint thought. Not true, been worse. Jia gave a small laugh that turned into a sob. He says he's been worse. Dr. Yuna looked surprised. You can still hear him? Yes, he's still here. Still fighting. Days passed. Taehyun's condition remained critical but stable. The repair teams worked around the clock, replacing damaged systems, healing his biological components. Jia stayed with him, maintaining their bond, talking to him constantly to keep his consciousness engaged. The other dragons are healing well, she told him. Captain Junho says they're all asking about you. You're a hero to them now, not hero. Just old, very old dragon. Very tired, you can rest, she assured him. But don't leave. Promise me you won't leave, promise. Stay with Jia. A week after the battle, Admiral Kyung-ho, the highest-ranking officer in the Star Alliance, came to visit the base. He toured the medical facilities, spoke with the injured riders, and finally came to Taehyun's repair bay. So this is the famous war dragon and his unexpected rider, the Admiral said, looking at Jia with interest. The ones who destroyed the Void Hammer. Jia nodded respectfully but didn't move from Taehyun's side. Commander Do-hyun has told me your story, the Admiral continued. How you formed a bond no warrior could achieve. How you understood what 300 years of trainers and riders could not tell him. Not about control. About understanding. Taehyun says it wasn't about control, Jia relayed. It was about understanding. The Admiral nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps that's where we've been wrong all these years. We've treated war dragons as weapons to be controlled, not as partners to be understood. He turned to Commander Do-hyun. I want a complete review of our dragon training program. If what happened here can be replicated, it could change everything. Yes, sir, Do-hyun replied. The Admiral looked back at Jia. When Taehyun recovers, and I believe he will, what do you plan to do? Jia hadn't thought that far ahead. She had been focused only on keeping Taehyun alive, on maintaining their bond through his healing. Tell him, no more war, time for peace. Taehyun says no more war, she said. Time for peace. Peace? The Admiral looked surprised. But he's a war dragon, the most powerful one we have. More than war dragon, can be peace dragon, can heal other dragons, help them, like Jia helped me. As Jia relayed these words, she felt something changing in their bond. Taehyun's presence grew stronger, more focused. His neural ports began to glow a steady blue. I think, she said slowly, that after 300 years of fighting, Taehyun has earned the right to choose a new path. And I think he can help other dragons who have been damaged by war. Help them heal like I helped him. The Admiral was quiet for a moment, then nodded. When he recovers, we'll discuss it. 3 months later, Taehyun stood in the main hangar, his massive body fully repaired. His armored scales gleamed under the lights, showing no sign of the terrible damage he had suffered. His neural ports glowed a healthy, steady blue. Beside him stood Jia, no longer wearing a repair worker's uniform. Her new outfit marked her official status. Dragon Healer, a new position created specifically for her and Taehyun. Are you ready? She asked, placing her hand on his neural port. Ready. New dragons waiting. Need help. Like I needed help. Through their bond, stronger now than ever before, Jia felt his excitement and purpose. The war with the Void was not over, but Taehyun's war was. Now he would help other dragons, especially the older ones who had seen too much battle, who carried wounds both physical and mental. Commander Do-hyun approached them. The first group is ready for you. 5 war dragons, all with bonding issues. Their riders are struggling to connect with them. We'll help them, Jia said confidently. As they walked toward the training area, other dragons and riders stopped to watch them pass. The story of the quiet repair worker and the unrideable war dragon had spread throughout the Alliance. They had become a symbol of something new, a different way of thinking about the bond between humans and dragons. Happy, came Taehyun's thought. First time in very long time. Happy. Me too, Jia said, smiling up at her friend. Who would have thought that reaching for your wounds would lead to this? You did. Saw pain, not power. Saw me, not weapon. Together, they entered the training area where 5 war dragons waited with their riders. These dragons were tense, wary, their neural ports glowing an angry red. Their riders looked frustrated and uncertain. Gia stepped forward. Your dragons are in pain, she said simply. That's why you can't connect with them. They don't need warriors to control them. They need friends to understand them. She placed her hand on Taehyun's neural port, and their bond flared bright and strong, a beacon of what was possible when understanding replaced control, when healing replaced fighting. Let us show you, she said. Let us help you heal each other's wounds. And as the riders looked up at Taehyun, the most feared war dragon in the alliance, now the gentlest teacher, they began to understand what Gia had discovered that first night in the hangar. Sometimes, the greatest strength comes not from climbing over others, but from reaching toward their pain.